Good morning. Welcome to Market Wake Up. My name is Jordan and this is John. And you're looking at two macro traders that are going to get you up to date with everything that's happening this week. And yes, macro traders are about to talk cryptocurrency. So saddle up, get ready. Let's jump in to Market Wake Up. Good morning, John. Happy Monday. Welcome back to Market Wake Up. How you doing?
I know. Gosh, it feels like an age, doesn't it, when we come back to this now? We've got into the habit of this every day, and now it's once a week. It's.
I feel out of the loop.
Yeah.
I feel out of the loop. I really do. But how you doing?
Yeah, I'm doing really well, mate. Doing really well. I had a really nice weekend, to be fair. I had another weekend where I just did nothing. Pretty much did nothing. Put my feet up. Actually read a book, which I don't get to do quite as often as I'd like to do. So yeah, I got to do that. Ellie was out all weekend pretty much, so it was good. Yeah,
nice. Hang on. We can't go 2 weekends on the trot of you saying you've had a good weekend because your partner was out all weekend. Did you not learn from last week?
You misinterpret it. It was good weekend. I'm not saying it was good because she was away. I'm just saying it was good because I got to do a lot of things that I just was good for my soul.
No, that's good. No, I'm the same. Barbecue, hot weather this weekend. It was beautiful.
Oh.
So, yeah. No,
is it raining? Has it been raining?
No.
Oh, see, because I don't know if you get this over there. So in the UK, we've got I'm a Celebrity, which is like a big program filmed in Australia. It has been raining non-stop on that program. So I was like, oh, is it?
Yeah, that's up in tropical Queensland. So it's a long way from where I am, in the Daintree Rainforest, which is an absolute beautiful place. They don't show the UK I'm a Celebrity in Australia, like on Australian TV. They only show that. The Australian I'm a Celebrity is based in South Africa, right?
Oh, really?
And the reason they do that is because the spiders and the snakes and the bugs and everything that they use to scare you guys back in the UK, we know what they are. Yeah. So we know they're not deadly and we know they're not dangerous when they're doing some of these things. So we just kind of go, okay. Like I don't see the fear in this. We get those in the corner of our house. Like, what's the?
You just be doing the trials, no problem. Oh, look, it's a
it's a nice 5-star restaurant. Yeah, it's something like eating kangaroo balls. I know they do that very frequently. That's a restaurant delicacy. You can get those in a restaurant. So
don't say things like that. You make me want to go to Australia, and then you start talking about these things. Yeah, and it puts you right back.
Well, it's but no, there's a fun fact for you. Most of the things in that show aren't actually deadly or dangerous in any retrospect. Even the snakes, like, they don't even have teeth. But in the wild trades, Andrew, Malcolm, Russell, I've missed you. Welcome back. A temporary respite from the constantly non-stop nagging from the lesser half. Wow, Russell's gone straight for the throat. There's no delay there. But guys, welcome back. It's glad to. I'm glad to be live again. I love live content. I absolutely love live content. I love being able to chat to you guys. Let us know your thoughts on our newsletter. That launched last week. You know, we've had two two editions go out so far. I'm actually quite enjoying writing those, John. Some of the analysis in there is quite deep as well. So let us know what you guys are thinking. If you haven't signed up to the newsletter, in the description, you can go ahead and sign up. The next edition will be out on this Friday. John, are you enjoying the newsletter?
I am indeed. It's nice to actually be able to, I guess, chat openly on a written platform, right? Because sometimes you have to follow certain procedures and not have to, So it's quite nice to be able to talk a bit more openly. I'll put it that way.
I'll let you guys pick up what he's saying, but we don't have moderators telling us what we can and can't say. Let's just. Streaming on YouTube, there's things we can and can't say. When we stream on other platforms or create videos, there's things we can and can't say. That platform right there is just us and pure us.
Yeah.
If you want that inside go ahead and do it. Let's chat about market leftovers. What kind of happened last week? Obviously, the major headline, the title today, Bitcoin doing its things. I'll leave at that kind of discussion until the big bite. Russia's entered the room, joined back into the chat room, shall we say? Getting a little bit over there. Obviously, the Biden administration, we spoke on it a little bit, signing that decree to let them do that, and then him kind of retaliating with ICBM missiles and kind of using those as a threat, saying, "Hey, we got power, we will use it." Markets calling a bluff, I want to say. I say they're like, nah, I don't see this escalating too much. But what are your thoughts?
I think initially, obviously, around Wednesday, I think it was about Wednesday where we saw this sort of escalation come into play. Yeah. And we saw the market run to risk a little bit. We saw yen kind of gain some strength and whatnot quite quickly in a short period of time. It's quite funny because I was sitting on the pound yen chart wanting to short it. And I was just waiting for my kind of strategy setup to come into play before I hit the button. And all of a sudden, it just went, boom, 150 pips down in a matter of sort of minutes. And I was like, oh, okay. I know there's no scheduled news out right now. So this has got to be some kind of headline news that come out. Went on to Sky News and saw that there was all this stuff going on with Russia and some of the comments and things that he'd made about, I think it was about reducing the criteria of when to use nukes and stuff like that. So that caused a little bit of risk in the market initially. But the thing is with that, there is a very low likelihood of him using these because, let's face it, if there was that to happen, I think there would just be a big red button push everywhere on the globe and it'd be mass chaos. So I don't think you want to be worrying about what the market's going to do in that situation because you ain't going to be there.
Hey, I'm on an island out here, right? As long as, what is it, like 18 of them don't explode, we're good. We're good, right? Now, if they shoot 18, all right, we got a problem. We got a problem. Yeah. But I'll jump over near Uluru. We'll sit right in the center of the island and hope for the best.
Yeah, well, I like that. I like that idea. I might come join you in that sense. But yeah, essentially there was that risk, but that faded very quickly. And I think if you were looking at that headline news, thinking that, oh my God, we've got to go to risk and go into that, you would have been burnt pretty quickly. Pound yen did sell off eventually, but it wasn't when it started to behave more naturally than what I thought it would behave like. So yeah, there was that kind of criteria in the week. Whether that will flow into this week, I don't see it. I think the problem with trying to trade headlines is they are so... Yeah, and well, for one, you don't know what they are. You don't know when they're going to come out. Two, you can't trade on that reaction because it's not anything long term. It's just a headline. It's quick. It's, so to try and trade that is not great. I actually put in the newsletter that maybe the strategy for headline stuff is probably fading that kind of news play. So when you see that kind of news play happen, wait for a bit of a change back in the direction that it went from and try and catch the fade of it. That's probably the better strategy to use when you're trying to trade, but never trade with the headline is probably the best thing to go off of that. But interesting, isn't it? Whether this will continue into the new year as well, because obviously Trump's coming in and Trump has been very much, I'm going to solve everything. I'm going to be the guy that solves it all. So how that will look and happen, I don't know. Will it? Who knows? So yeah, it'd be interesting to see if any of this continues.
Yeah, well, look, we'll move swiftly into Freshly Squeezed. Well, I'll get you up to date with kind of everything that's happening this week, and then we'll get into the big bite in a little bit. But before we do, there is one thing happening in the commodity world, which is throwing seasonals out of whack right now, which is great if you're an investor, sucks if you're me. And I say that because it's coffee. If you haven't seen the coffee chart over the past few weeks, this thing is running up 24% over the past couple of weeks. Now, the reason for that is they are seeing that the Arabica, probably not pronouncing that right? But I'm going with it.
I'm not going to try either.
The coffee, which is the main coffee, it's the coffee I drink. It's the main coffee consumed in Australia. The trees or the plants are producing a very low amount of beans. They are not up to scratch. The weather conditions that have been happening, they're not fruiting the right way. And as you can see, coffee prices on the news of this, as evidence is coming out that this is true, absolutely rallying up 25% over the past couple of weeks. Seasonally, this is a flat to negative time of the year. This is where seasonals have been thrown. This is why you need all three. You need seasonals, you need macro, you need technicals. You got to understand the why. The coffee prices, trees are not producing what they live up to produce, what they're expected to produce. Therefore, you are seeing a big increase in this price. Now, the difference between the little price movements we get in currencies and particular Japanese yen, I don't know how often you actually change money to the Japanese yen, John. But when you trade something like this, coffee, you will feel this in the shops. When you pop down to Aldi to buy a bag of coffee, that price will be 25% more expensive. This is something you're actually going to see in the near short term. So keep your eye on that. Without further ado, John, I want to throw us into Freshly Squeezed, and I'm going to start us off the right way, as we always do. Tell me, where's the VIX today?
I actually don't know.
I tried
to look. My screen isn't even on it. My screen's not even on it. Okay, so let's see. So the S&P was up at the end of last week. So I'll try and gauge it off of what's happening over there. So I'm going to say we're looking at around about 15.
15.21.
Oh, see, that's not bad.
Yesterday come down. Come down pretty heavy. We're sitting at the lows. We did. I thought we were going to give a nice push to close this gap. We see things like, as I said, Russia kind of elevating over there again, getting back into the picture, and markets calling BS. Investors don't care, and it's impressive. It's really impressive. But there you go. I'm going to get you up to date with everything that's happening today. I get you in and around where prices are at. So I'll start us off. Aussie unchanged, Euro up 0.32%. The pound's up 0.5, US dollar CAD unchanged, US dollar Japanese yen unchanged. The XJO is up 0.13, the DAX is up 0.35, the Nikkei is up 0.4, the FTSE is up 0.4, and the S&P 500 up 0.44%. Read some fantastic both macro and technical analysis on the S&P 500 yesterday from our new TradeDelicious writer, John Naven. He writes for Forbes, and oh my God, his technical analysis was something that even I was like, should I be trading this? Like,
I like it.
Beautiful. Coffee's up 2.5%. I'm expecting that to continue if these worries do keep unfolding. Gold's down 1.6%. Nat gas up absolutely astronomically, 8.45% today. Look at this. Natural gas, take a bow. Silver down 1.8, sugar down 0.2, oil down 0.7, Bitcoin 0.3% up, and Ethereum up 1.23% so far today. There's you up to date, John.
Well, I mean, the nat gas is definitely the play from the old Russia side of things. Yes. So, you know, the idea was to be sort of long nat gas through sort of the end of October. There's a seasonal play for one, but there was also a COT signal long as well for nat gas going into that period, and obviously that's played out really well. Now there is usually a strong seasonal play for nat gas to the downside, but at the moment, with the tensions escalating with Russia and whatnot, it might just hold a little bit higher for now. If those tensions start to de-escalate a little bit and we don't start to see anything kind of, you know, again, that headline risk really punching through, then, you know, maybe we'll start to see that seasonal pattern play out a little bit and start to see a rollover throughout December. But, you know, we are coming into some key areas on the chart, some key areas of support and resistance. Well, say support, some areas of resistance. So it'd be interesting to see, you know, do we get the technical to line up with the seasonal this year, and see that kind of reversal floating into play.
It's presented me an opportunity. You're right. The seasonal plays quite strong, 70% over the past 25 years. We do see a steep sell-off. end of November into early December. Usually that's because everyone's bought up their winter stores, usually realize, hey, we have bought enough. We don't need to buy anymore. And we see a drop off. You've got mixed those Russia tensions. Perhaps maybe people haven't bought enough and this is the quick reposition. Either way, if that is the play there, and the reason the chart's gone up isn't just because of the Russia thing, but because they've gone, hey, actually, we haven't bought enough. We need to put in a big order. There's their order.
Yep.
There's the buying. Done. Their order's filled. To me, probability-wise and opportunity cost, I like this. I like this at potentially trying to grab the seasonal play to the downside. The risk is the red button. But, as you said, someone clicks a red button, who gives a shit about the chart, right? We're done.
We're out of it.
So risk, it's risk-free, John. It's risk-free.
Well, I don't like that. I don't like that.
But probability-wise, opportunity cost, if I had to be positioned in this market, I quite like the idea of fading this move.
Yeah, that's a nice one to look at. Actually, I quite like Russell's little message here. If coffee is too expensive, you can always drink cocoa. That is how economics works. If we see the price of something go higher, people and consumers tend to go elsewhere. So in England, we'll probably go from drinking coffee to drinking more tea. Elsewhere it might be a little bit down from coffee going into some other products as well. So you might feel that the benefits will go elsewhere. It's like when the price of like milk goes up, and people tend to look at other alternatives in their drinks and X, Y, and Z. But that's a good point there. Cocoa prices could be something to look at as a little bit of a hedge to that sort of expensive coffee play.
A few things to run through, but I'm going to do it super quick so we can get into chatting about this cryptocurrency up at 100K. This week, Aussie dollar CPI forecasted to uptick 0.4%. RBA has been steady. I did see first draft of your video that's coming out tomorrow. And you mentioned how fantastic the RBA are and how good Australia as a country, as a nation, and as a currency and an economy and everything in sport. How don't look at cricket, but everything that we're doing right now is just fantastic. You mentioned that in the video for tomorrow, but the CPI expected to come in 0.4%. That's not going to change the RBA's decision. If anything, that's going to lean them back towards going, oh, have we done enough? Maybe we need to do more. One of the only currencies thinking that way at the moment, which could present a very interesting opportunity. Shortly after, half an hour after, we do get the RBNZ rate statement, and they are forecasted to drop 50 basis points as well. We get prelim GDP out of the US a little bit later this week. Then towards the end of the week, we kind of calm down. And then at the very end of the week on Friday, Canadian GDP, which will be a good one to keep an eye on, and then followed by Chinese manufacturing, which is when the market is closed. The Chinese manufacturing PMI will be dropping when the market is closed. So if you are in an Australian dollar position, please be careful. Please be careful, because if that data is bad or good, perhaps even neutral, it will move the Australian dollar. And because the market is closed, that means one thing: it will gap. It doesn't care where your stop loss is, it will gap it. So please, risk management in check. Anything related to the Chinese currency manufacturing PMI late Friday night for most of you.
Yeah, that's a very good point. I'm actually very interested to see how this week's data pans out. It's very commodity based this week, commodity currency based this week, where you've got Australian CPI. Now, we've talked a lot about Australia and the fact that if you were to take
fantastic.
Absolutely. And if you take them out of absolutely, I'm agreeing. Take them out of the equation of China, you'd probably see the Australian dollar being a very strong currency compared to the other currencies. So when you look at charts, what I'm trying to do sometimes is look at where that mispricing is. And I'm not saying the Australian dollar's mispriced, but in my opinion, should it be as weak as it is across most currencies? Probably not. But if you actually look at it against the likes of the euro, look at it against the likes of the pound, which are weak currencies, it's outperforming those at the moment. So it's when you kind of look across the board, yes, against the US dollar, it's having a really bad time. But so are most currencies against the US dollar. if you want to go and pair it against something, like one of my ideas last week was to go pound Oz short. That's worked out pretty nicely. Market has continued to trade lower, so I'm pretty happy over there, because I think that the value in the Australian dollar at the moment is actually probably better than what the market is talking about in terms of its relationship to China. But I will be interested to see if China data comes out over the weekend and we get some kind of gap, sort of, let's say China data is poor, right? But over the weekend, Australian dollar gaps higher. I think sentiment's starting to change at that point. And I would be likely looking towards the Australian dollar to be a bit more of a buy there.
The bad news is China data is expected to be good.
Well, we'll see how the market reacts.
If China news is expected to be good, CPI does uptick as well. Like there is a strong probability of bullish Aussie dollar this week. Like it's a nice place to be positioned from my point of view. If we can be bullish Aussie dollar throughout the whole of this week, I think, hold me accountable. Let's go back to newsletter on Friday. The boss, this is the trade I'm giving the boss. Aussie dollar long starting Monday the 25th of November.
Okay, so we'll see where you're at then.
We'll see. Let's get into the good part. Let's get into what everyone's here for. Bitcoin just missed 100K. Will it get there? Is the big question. John, will it get there?
Well, technically it already is. I'll bring in my little presentation that I've done for everybody. If you look at futures pricing is already
but the actual asset, that's what we're talking about here, John.
Okay. So it's minor details. It's like 99 point something. Do you know what I mean? So it's
98,363.
Yeah, so it's close. It's close. I think the question that I've been seeing the most is, so our question was, will Bitcoin hit 100K? I think that's inevitable. I don't think there's necessarily a question around that. The second question that then derives from that one is Bitcoin in a bubble? And this is the question I've been seeing everywhere. Now, just taking a little look at sort of Bitcoin pricing, it's up 160% since January, over 43% since the US election was concluded. So it's been a strong performing asset this year, right? Don't get me wrong, through March and October, sideways. We didn't really see much growth there. But what's defined as a bubble, right? So this is what we have to ask ourselves. What is the definition of a bubble? And this is the definition for me. So a market bubble is a period when asset prices like stocks, real estate, commodities rise to levels that are not supported by the asset's intrinsic value. This happens when speculation and investor optimism drive prices higher than they should be, rather than the fundamental economic factors. Okay. Now you've got to ask yourself the question, where is the value of Bitcoin, right? What's the value of Bitcoin? And this is a question I have to ask myself a lot, because I am a skeptic when it comes to crypto. I've been very vocal in that. Okay. But that doesn't mean that I shouldn't try and understand how it works, try and understand what is the value. Now, the value really is derived what people think of it. Okay. So if I just go over to my next slide, why Bitcoin's value is rising, essentially. Why will it rise? Number one, scarcity. Scarcity is probably the biggest reason behind this drive at the moment, because there's only ever going to be 21 million coins in existence. So naturally it has that scarcity factor to it. There's only going to be a certain amount ever produced. And there's still, from research that I've done over the weekend, there's still 1.1 sort of million coins left to go. And that usually happens in those kind of periods. I think don't quote me on this because I'm not a Bitcoin expert, right? But I'm learning about it as we go. It's during those halving periods where we get the cycle of coins coming back into circulation, X, Y, and Z. So Bitcoin, we've got a while to go yet till it's scarce, but that provides the value, right? What is the value of something? Well, the value of something is determined by the network of individuals that own it. or trade it. Okay, so think of it in terms of gold, right? Can you explain to me why gold is so high?
Shiny.
There you go, right? So it's the value that we're giving it is why it's so high, right? It's because of the amount that it's being traded. It's the value that the market is seeing within it. Like when you say to me, is that there expensive? Well, what's expensive in the grand scheme of things, right? What's cheap in the grand scheme of things? Because things move over time. So what might have been expensive back in the day is not expensive now, right? X, Y, and Z. So the value is determined by the individuals. Now, does it have a utility? Now, this is where I feel like Bitcoin does have a utility to it, but is it something that I necessarily believe in? Personally, I don't see it just yet, but obviously others do, right?
This is John walking on the line of saying it's useless, but without trying to upset anyone.
No, it's obviously not useless because of what's obviously coming up. But, you know, when gold was mined, it had a utility, but then it became a store of value. Is that the situation that we've got here with Bitcoin as well? It had a utility, a transaction utility, but now it's being seen as a store of value for the crypto markets, right? The other factor is deflationary. So assets funds are looking at it as a way to hedge, essentially, in times of inflation, right? We've seen that over the past couple of years or so where inflation has skyrocketed, you know, and that may be a benefit to some people's portfolio. Some asset managers' portfolio might be looking at it going, okay, well, this is deflationary. Let's go assign some capital over there, right? Now, something that's coming up or could be coming up, which I found quite interesting over the weekend, was something called the Bitcoin Act of 2024. And I found this little bit of information and I thought, well, this is quite interesting, considering that Trump as well is obviously talking about he wants the US to be the crypto space, right? So the US Senate is currently reviewing the Bitcoin Act, right? And this is a bill sponsored by the Republican Senator Cynthia Lummis of Wyoming, and it's basically to try and establish a strategic Bitcoin reserve for the United States, potentially making it the country's first nation to use crypto as a national savings technology, which is quite interesting as well, because that's not something that's a small feat. And I kind of asked myself the question, what does this do? Now, if the government's getting involved, they probably already are involved. Let's just put it out there. They probably are involved already on a certain scale. But if the government starts getting hold of this and they start to invest in it significantly, then this might come into the scale of mass adoption, right? Because if people think that it's okay for the governments to have, they're going to go for it, really, aren't they? Or at least it might be accepted as a bit more of a stable thing in most regular people's minds. So people that aren't maybe exposed to this in general might be looking at this to, again, be a part of the Bitcoin rush and the crypto rush. But essentially, I think this is quite a big step in the direction of crypto in general. And again, what will that create? It will create that sort of need to have that coin, for one, which then goes back to the question of what's its value? How can its value be determined? Now, all I'm going to say is, what I'm going to say right now is, all I can tell you is own Bitcoin. That's a winner, according to Mr. Jim Cramer. And if anybody knows Mr. Jim Cramer, I love your face there, George. You weren't expecting that slide, was you?
I wasn't.
Notoriously great at catching market tops, I must admit, Mr. Cramer is. But, you know, it's interesting to see. Now, this is why I've come into I've asked myself the question, is Bitcoin a bubble right now? I don't necessarily think that Bitcoin is a bubble right this second. I wouldn't go out right now and short that market, because I just think that would be a very silly thing to do. When a market is going parabolic to the upside, I ain't going to stand in the way of it. because I just don't think that's what I'm getting at in this scenario right now. Do I think that it could be a bubble? Yes, but I'm going to let the market tell me first before it wants to do that, because there are some interesting kind of bullish things about it at the moment. So the one thing that's gotten me a little bit on the side of caution, though, is because Jim Cramer has come out and said it's a winner. And I'm not saying that because it's Jim Cramer. I'm saying that's because this guy he's been really bearish on Bitcoin for a long time. Now, I trade a lot of sentiment. I trade a lot of, COT reports, things like that. I trade a lot of sentiment and positioning. Now, when you start to see skeptics turn bullish on an asset they've been bearish on for a long, long time, that to me is something a little bit scary. It's a bit like when we were talking about yen, right? I was saying to you, I don't know when the intervention's going to come, and you were like, John, when you say the intervention's not coming, or when it's going to come, and lo and behold, I talked about it on the Monday, and then the next day it kind of went, didn't it? So, I was the Jim Cramer of yen.
It waits to crush you, and then the moment you publicly admit, hey, I might be wrong, let's actually do this, is the moment it goes the way you originally thought it would.
Exactly. And that's the kind of talking point I'm looking at with regards to Jim Cramer. There's also other people that are sort of bearish cryptos in general, or negative towards crypto, who are now changing their minds, which is really interesting to me, because that isn't what I would like to see in a situation where I want to be bullish in the market. Now, I went over to have a look at the commitment of trade reports, because that's what I trade with most of the time. So I have a little look at where the commercial positioning is. Now, it's a little bit different when it comes to Bitcoin, because obviously the futures of Bitcoin have not been around for a very long time. In fact, there's only 2,000 sort of contracts on the commercial side at the moment. When you compare that to the likes of gold, which has hundreds of thousands of contracts, X, Y, and Z. So we have to look at the commercial side really regarding Bitcoin, because they're the people that are in it, essentially. They're the ones that are understanding it a lot more than I am, right? So I'm looking at how the commercials perform and how that relates to price, more importantly. Now, when they increase their contracts, a lot of the times we get a move higher, right? We've had that recently. We started to see an increase in contracts towards the end of sort of September. We started to see that big move higher. That was probably in anticipation that maybe Trump was going to win, right? They thought that was going to happen, so they start building that position in.
Trump trade. Yeah,
the Trump trade, right? What I find interesting at the moment is, though, we're at 100K, or close, very close to 100K. But the contracts aren't as aggressive as what they have been. So we had this kind of little market top towards March of this year, and where we went pretty much sideways, and the contracts were a lot higher then than they are now. So I've got a idea where I feel that crypto is going to remain bullish right now. I think we're probably going to break that 100K barrier, and then it's what it does around 100K, because the psychological factor of 100K could play into this a lot more than other market assets, right? Because the whole time Bitcoin's been around it's going to be at 100K soon. And people that have been holding for a while might think this is a really good chance to get out of this. They might think this is a really good chance to pocket this move that we've had. So yeah, I'm looking at this saying that I think we probably will break 100K, but it's going to be an interesting area to watch. Am I going to be involved in the move? I don't think so. Because I would rather wait for a tradable price, and I don't think that's right now. I think if I try and jump on Bitcoin at these levels, it's got to be very short term. It cannot be for me to be a buyer and a holder of this move. If we look at Season X and look at the seasonal performance of Bitcoin, now typically through actually the sort of end of October, we do usually see a bullish run in Bitcoin, and that's obviously played out this year. There's another one sort of end of November into December, which has a 70% win rate over the past 10 years. Looking over the years, it hasn't been particularly great in terms of return if you look at sort of the past 3 years. 2020 was one of its better years. 2017 was one of its better years. 2016 was a pretty good year, and we know that Trump was elected president in 2016. So for me, I'm on the side of being bullish cryptos, but I just would like to air a bit of caution that we are starting to see people that aren't necessarily a fan of Bitcoin. They're starting to change their opinion. And when that starts to happen, you need to kind of sit up and take notice. Now, I'm saying this as I'm not saying this as don't go and trade it or anything like that. This is not advice or anything. I would just say if you are involved with it, be a little bit cautious. I'm not going to be buying this at these levels because to me, the risk reward is not there. The reward that I would like to gain out of this is not there right now from a tradable point of view. So yeah, that's my little presentation on Bitcoin.
Like it.
I hope you enjoyed it. But yeah, I'd love to get your thoughts on it as well, George. Your situation, how you feel around it, because it's an interesting market, isn't it? Because of the pull it gets on the media. But the saying is as well. Usually, your mate down the pub talks about it. It's game over. I haven't had that yet. I've had a lot of people actually ask me about. Oh, you have.
I've had messages. Russia, but no, I've had messages from mates showing me some weird small coin that's gone up 600%, and they're like, "Look, I made money on this," and I thought, "Oh boy, it's back." No, look, this is going to be hard for a lot of people to fathom, and this is something that I've said for the past 3 years, and will continue to say. I don't care, bluntly. Whether cryptocurrency goes to 2 million, right? Well, Bitcoin goes to 2 million, or whether it completely depletes and goes to 0. I just simply don't care. And that is hard for a lot of people to understand when I say that. That's not me being blunt and being an ass, right? It's just my general opinion. It's not my area of expertise. No. It's not where I trade, nor do I see, like you said, I admire learning about it, and you'd be an idiot in life if you didn't seek opportunity, right? But I did my research, I looked into it, I went, I think I can make a lot more money trading commodities and currencies, so I'm going to stick to what I'm good at and do that, and I don't get eaten up by the FOMO. Now, that's one thing I love about crypto, is there is so much FOMO that it has trained my FOMO skills so well, because the fact that these things are breaking all-time highs, it's all you read about in the media. Every person, Christmas dinner is going to be an interesting one coming up, right? Every person is going to want to talk about, oh my God, did you see Bitcoin? Oh my God. In Australian dollars, it's like 150K, 150,000, right? So people are going nuts. And for me to honestly sit there and go, I don't care. And really mean that. Like, I'm very proud of myself. That's very strange. But that's how I sit. I mean, these markets, just because it's moving doesn't mean you have to be involved. Exactly. We're traders. There's 17. There's a lot of us in here right now. We're all traders, and we trade the markets. This is just one of those other markets. Now, if I sat here and shown you that nat gas, I'm like, oh my God, it's up 8.5% today. Do you get that FOMO to trade it? Probably not the same amount. Oh my God, coffee's up 25%. Why are we not buying? Oh, well, I know what coffee is. Like, it's the curiosity of not knowing what this new thing is that gets a lot of people, and this fact that it's taking people from poor to rich like that. And it's a media pull, and I'm just not interested. I think the technology could be cool, right? I think we could achieve great things from some of the projects that are in there, but in terms of trading it to make money, I don't care. Yeah, it's like,
look, at the end of the day, like, we're in it. That's the point is, can you make money from it, and how? And if you are going to do it, how can you do it in a way that's risk appropriate? Don't get me wrong, I don't know what soybean oil is, right? But I've traded it because there was a commitment trading signal on it. Yeah. Not soybeans, because that's a different market and that burnt me. But soybean oil, I don't know what it is, but it had a signal, and I traded it because I know the signal works, right? In a probability outcome. So, I'm saying this like, I don't know what soybean oil is. It probably is just the oil of soybeans. So, it's not even, but like, you can go and, nat gas, right? You might not be a nat gas expert, but you can go and trade it when the certain setups happen, right?
I've just
with Bitcoin, because you don't necessarily have to understand it to trade that market, but also it's a good thing sometimes maybe not to fully understand it, because you could almost get blinkered by your love of it, right? You might be all in Bitcoin cryptos because of what you believe that this could achieve in general life, and that could blind you to getting in at levels and buying it where it's not great.
It's for me, like, I know personally some great traders who have dedicated all of their skill and their work in. I've got to sneeze. It's not coming, but it's stopping me from talking. I know some great traders who were some serious, like, hedge fund traders doing really, really well, left their desk to pursue crypto projects, and still to this day do very, very well. I just don't get that gravitational pull that so many people do. It's just, I think it's more the macro bias. I like macro trading. I like knowing what's behind it. Now, I've got nothing against people who do go and trade it and have fun, right? And make money. And there are many that are very successful in doing technical trading as well that works really well. Yeah. It's just, I don't get that FOMO because I know what I'm good at, and what I'm good at doesn't work over there. My way of trading doesn't work. Sure, I could go out and learn and then adapt, but why? I'm doing it here. Like, I'm happy. I'm content. And that's what Alex from behind the scenes has just texted me saying, I can't believe what I'm hearing. I need to bring you on to debate. So we've hit a trigger, which is good because I know he's an advocate for cryptocurrencies. But I want to know your guys' thoughts in chat. Crypto, yes or no? Simple, boom in chat. Hit me with a yes, hit me with a no. As I said, I don't have anything against it. It sounds like I do. I don't. I'm just not interested. I would rather trade soybean oils and coffee. I really would. I'd rather trade global economies and see how they adapt. It's just my personal preference, and that's a beautiful thing with trading. Andrew's with me. He's saying, John, are you a yes or no? No.
I'm a no. There's a hesitation. Yes, I'm a no.
You're a no? Wow. Okay, we might go a bit one-sided. We start to look like haters.
Haters. So this is a signal for you guys, right? So if I'm a big no guy and I'm saying buy it, whoa, get out.
Barry said, yes, I've got XRP and ADA FOMO. Keep in mind, you're getting the opinions of two macro traders that want to know what the economies are doing behind our trade. So that's going to be an obvious answer. You should know whether or not we're going to say yes or no. I've got a juicy little take it to go for you if you want it. Something sweet, something easy, something chill, something a little bit controversial.
Ooh.
You interested?
Controversial, yeah, I like it.
You like your controversy?
Yeah.
Let me throw it to you. Throw it one way. Take it to go. It's a US equity stock. It's Boeing. They have been absolutely in the bin. Seasonal play, 80% hit rate over the past 20 years, moving into the 5th of December. Early, it goes to the 7th, but I prefer it to the 5th. Pre-earnings run up. Take a look. Have a look into it. Guys, tomorrow we've got a video coming out. Thursday, we've got a video coming out. If you haven't gone and checked out our videos yet, go and do it. We put a lot of time and effort into kind of explaining a lot of things and getting you guys up to scratch. And most importantly, newsletter. Link in the description. Link is in the chat as well. Come join us. See us without the fronts. Just raw thoughts on the macro landscape and what we're trading. It's been fantastic to be back here on stream. We're going to do it again next week. John, have a fantastic week. Everyone else, safe trading. Remember, Aussie dollar may gap this weekend. Please keep your risk management in check. Take care, and we'll see you soon. Cheers.